Thank you for the meeting to order. So firstly, welcome to this meeting of the annual meeting of the Buckinghamshire and Milton Keynes Bar Authority. We'd like to extend a very warm welcome to our new members and also our returning members, particularly those that survived the judgment of the electorate back in May. First item on, before I get to that, actually, you should say the meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the authority's YouTube channel to the meeting. So the first item on the agenda is election of a chairman for 2025-26. And hand over to Graham.
Thank you, Chairman. It falls to me to invite nominations for the position of chairman for 25-26. Please may I have nominations?
Thank you. Before I make the nomination, just also invite section 2.
Yeah, if I'm supported, Chair.
Thank you.
Is there a seconder? Thank you. Are there any other nominations? May I have a second? Any other nominations? There being more than one seconded nomination, this will go to a vote, and a supported request for a recorded vote has been made. So if I go through a roll call by surname alphabetical order, and I'll request which candidate you're voting from, either Councillor Walsh or Councillor Munger. So by surname alphabetical order, Councillor Ado.
Councillor Walsh.
Councillor Bailey.
Councillor Munger.
Councillor Banks. Councillor Carroll.
Councillor Walsh.
Councillor Exon. Councillor Gom.
Councillor Walsh.
Councillor Hussain OBE.
Councillor Walsh.
Councillor Hussain.
Councillor Munger.
Councillor Lancaster.
Councillor Munger.
Councillor McLean.
Councillor Walsh.
Councillor Munger.
Councillor Munger.
Councillor Walsh.
Councillor Munger.
Sorry, I keep touching my mic. Councillor Walsh.
Councillor Walsh.
Councillor Wilson.
Councillor Walsh.
Thank you. For Councillor Walsh, that's 8. For Councillor Munger, 9. Councillor Munger is duly elected as chair for 25-26.
Thank you, everyone. Commiserations to Councillor Walsh. It's behoving on me to take the opportunity to say thank you to Simon Rouse for his contribution in recent time, and in particular how he has supported the Chief Fire Officer in the improvement programme that's been taking place. Doubtless there'll be more to be said later on that point. I don't wish to labour that opportunity at the moment, so I'll move on to the appointment of Vice Chairman just as soon as I have signed
No, this isn't. You don't need.
All right, okay.
It's just to help.
Thanks. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to, from the chair, propose councillor Tracy Bailey as vice chair. And I invite seconder, councillor Banks, thank you. All those in favour? Sorry,
sorry.
further.
Just seeking
proposal.
further nominations.
Yeah.
Chair.
Thank you.
Any other nominations for the?
If you'd like to propose councillor McLean.
Is that seconded? Thank you. Are there any other nominations for the position of vice chair? As there's more than one duly nominated candidate, this will go to a vote, generally by a show of hands. All those in favour of councillor Bailey, please show. And all those supporting councillor McLean. Councillor Bailey is duly elected as vice chair for the 25-26. Congratulations.
Thank you and congratulations.
None, Chairman.
No apologies. If you didn't hear that, can someone approve those meeting minutes? Because I wasn't there. Okay, agreed. Are there any matters arising from that meeting?
Chairman, Chairman, there are some matters arising, and I can take you through those if the meeting wishes.
Thank you.
There were, in respect of minute FA 63 recommendations from committees, the medium-term financial plan 25-26 to 29-30. A member asked if the service had received confirmation of what the final figure would be regarding the national insurance grant, and also at the next meeting, could members be advised as to how that might impact the service, and also that it was agreed to write to the local MPs, and could members see sight of that correspondence? In response, the Director of Finance and Assets advised that this was shared with members. Also on that agenda item, the chairman asked if any analysis had been done on the impact of the threshold reduction. This is in respect of national insurance contributions, I believe, and what that means versus the increase in the authority's headcount. The Director of Finance and Assets advised that the two impacts had not been split out but worked out in totality. The biggest impact was the cost of employing on-call staff, more than it was on the whole time in percentage terms. The Director of Finance and Assets advised members that this was shared with members. In respect of agenda minute FA 64, Treasury Management Strategy 25-26, the Director of Finance and Assets advised that there was a council tax leaflet for the public on the authority's website, which explained where the money comes from and what it was spent on, and was as user-friendly as possible. There were a series of communications lined up, both internally so staff could understand, and also externally so the public could understand where their council tax was being spent. The Director of Finance and Assets advised that this was shared with members. Finally, in respect of agenda minute FA 67, the 25-26 annual delivery plan, the chairman asked that when a report was produced which had relevance to one of the unions, whether a section could be added that talked about engagement with key unions and stakeholders, so members were aware that engagement had happened. The head of service improvement advised that this will be covered in the communication and engagement section of the report going forward. Chairman, that concludes all the matters arising.
Thank you. Thank you, Ram. We'll move on to disclosure of interests. Members are invited now to disclose any matters that might affect this meeting rather than anything that is already on their Bucks Council disclosure or this fire authority's disclosure. Are there any matters to declare? None. Move on to chairman's announcements. Having been chair for less than 5 minutes, I have little to add, but I would say this, that my tenure, I hope, will be limited to two broad areas, and that is as guardian of the public purse, and I feel that's the principal requirement of this authority, and to be a critical friend to the Chief Fire Officer and the senior team. So that's hopefully the way that we'll all go forward, but doubtless, again, I'll have more to say at a future date. Do we have any petitions to receive? Oh, sorry, I do beg your pardon. We had an additional item added in memory of those who sadly lost their lives at the Bicester fire. I invite members to stand and observe 1 minute silence. Thank you. Item 8 on the agenda, petitions. Katie, have we received any?
None received, Chairman.
And any questions to the authority?
None received,
None.
Chairman.
Thank you. Move on to item 10, membership of the authority. Details of that have already been circulated to you. We're invited to note that.
Yes, Chair, if I just take members to page 5 on the report, this is to confirm the appointments made by the Buckinghamshire Council and Milton Keynes City Council respectively. They're set out on page 5 for noting, Chair.
Thank you. I'll take that as noted. Similarly, we have the committee allocations.
Chair, I can assist with
Thank
that. I can assist with that, sorry. Yes, 11A is to note the proportionality of the political groups on the authority, and that's set out on page 6 of the report. And the recommendation is the authority is asked to note that proportionality.
Thank you, all noted.
Second item, Chair, is the appointments to committees to be made in accordance with the group members' wishes. First, coming to the executive committee, I have received the nominations for both committees, Chair, so I'll just take the authority through that. The authority has no discretion but to agree to those nominations. But for the record, onto the executive committee, 3 Conservative members, Councillors Rouse, McLean and Walsh. Liberal Democrat 2, Munger and Hussain. Labour 2, Bailey and Priestley. Impact Alliance, Stutchbury. Conversely, on the Overview and Audit Committee, for those positions, there's 4 Conservatives, Ado, Carroll, Gom, Hussain OBE. 3 Liberal Democrat, Banks, X and Sherwell. 1 Labour, which is Lancaster. 1 Impact Alliance, which is Wilson.
Thank you.
Finally, Chair, there's an additional recommendation for those members that have been on the authority longer to obviate the difficulty of an in-year change of membership, where is previously, as it's the role of the authority to make appointments onto committees. Previously, it would have to wait until the next meeting of the authority. So that there's a final recommendation that it is recommended that that authority be delegated to the monitoring officer on the written confirmation of a group leader to vary the nomination on a given committee and to make appropriate amendments to membership. and notify all members and the chairman of the appropriate committee of the change, including variations to nominations by a group leader as a result of any in-year changes to the membership of the authority.
Thank you.
Is that agreed, Chair?
Is that agreed?
Okay.
Thank you. Item 12, we have the details of the future meetings, the calendar of meetings. Take it all have noted that and that they have them in their calendars. Appointment of representatives to outside bodies.
Thank you, Chair. I have received nominations for the list of outside bodies that are set out at 13A to D, including Roman 1 and 2. In terms of nomination for the 2 members to attend as the authority's representative at the Local Government Association Annual Conference, I've had nominations for the 2 positions, Munger, Bailey, and Ado and Gom. So that's 4 nominations for 2 positions. Therefore, that will require a vote. If they could be seconded, those nominations could be seconded first.
Do we have a seconder
For
for
Munger and Bailey.
Munger and Bailey?
Okay.
Thank you.
A seconder
And for,
Ado as well.
okay,
Those in favour for those 2 positions going to Munger and Bailey, please show. And those in favour of those positions going to Councillor Ado and Gom, please show. On the show of hands, Chair, those positions go to Councillors Munger and Bailey. The next outside body position is to appoint 1 member and a standing deputy to represent the authority at the Local Government Association and Fire Commission. So in terms of the substantive appointment, I've had a nomination for Councillor Munger, and in terms of the deputy, for Councillor Bailey, that if they could be seconded.
seconder for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I've also had nominations respectively for Councillor Rouse as the member and then as the standing deputy, Councillors McLean, if I could have a seconder for those. Thank you. So same rules apply, Chair. If I could have a show of hands for Munger and Bailey. Thank you. And a show of hands for Councillors Rouse and McLean. Thank you. Those positions fall to Councillors Munger and Bailey. The next outside body is the Local Government Association Annual Fire Conference to appoint 2 members to attend as the authority's representatives at the Local Government Association Annual Fire Conference. Again, nominations for that position. There's Munger and Bailey need to be seconded, Chair.
Seconders, thank you.
And also nominations for Councillor Rouse and Councillor McLean, if they can be seconded. Thank you. That's seconded. All those in favour of Councillors Munger and Bailey? Thank you. All those in favour of Councillor Rouse and McLean? Thank you. Those positions fall to Councillors Munger and Bailey. The final outside body for representation is the Thames Valley Fire Control Service Joint Committee. I've had nominations for the 2 substantive representatives as Councillors Munger and Banks, if they could be seconded. Thank you. And I've had nominations for those positions, Councillors Walsh and McLean, if they could be seconded. Show of hands, please, for Councillors Munger and Banks for those 2 positions. A show of hands for Councillor Walsh and McLean. Those positions go to Councillors Munger and Banks. Also, we're required to nominate 2 substitute members. I've had nominations for those 2 substitute positions as follows. Councillors Nicknam Hussain and Councillor Bailey. Could that be seconded? Yeah. Also nominations, Councillors Rouse and Doe. Seconded. All those in favour of Councillors Nicknam Hussain and Councillor Bailey, show. Thank you. All those in favour of Councillor Rouse and Doe, show. Right. Those positions fall to Councillors Nicknam Hussain and Councillor Bailey. That concludes that item, Chair.
Thank you, members. We move on to lead member responsibilities. Here, again, we have nominations. I'll leave it to Graham.
Thank you. I've had a nomination for the lead member role of service delivery, protection and collaboration. I've had a nomination for Councillor Munger, if that could be seconded. Thank you. I've had a nomination for that position for Councillor Rouse, if that could be seconded. Thank you. All those in favour of that position going to Councillor Munger, please show. Thank you. All those in favour of Councillor Rouse, please show. Thank you. That position goes to Councillor Munger. People, Equality and Diversity and Assurance. I've had a nomination for Councillor Mariah Priestley. Could that be seconded? There are no other nominations for that position, Chair, so Councillor Priestley is duly appointed. In respect of the position of lead member for Finance and Assets, Information Security and IT, I've had a nomination for that position to go to Councillor Nicknam Hussain. Could I have a seconder for that, please? Thank you. I've also had a nomination for that position to go to the Councillor Walsh. Could that be seconded? Thank you. All those in favour of that position going to Councillor Nicknam Hussain, please show. Thank you. Actually, could I just see that again? Sorry. Thank you. And Councillor, thank you. Councillor Walsh, 1, 2, 3, 4. That goes to Councillor Nicknam Hussain. And the final position to be filled is the lead member for Health and Safety and Corporate Risk. I've had a nomination for Councillor Stutchbury. That could be seconded, please. Thank you. And a nomination for Councillor McLean, if that can be seconded. Thank you. All those in favour of that position going to Councillor Stutchbury, please show. Thank you. And in favour of Councillor McLean, please show. Thank you. That position goes to Councillor Stutchbury. Yeah, that concludes all those appointments.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Graham, for that. Move on to item 15, which is the report of the Inspectorate of Constabulary and Fire and Rescue Services, which are detailed on pages 33 to 58. We're invited to note this before. Invite Anne-Marie Carter to present the report.
Hi, thank you. So good morning, everyone. Following a HMRC FRS inspection in 2023, our service was identified with 3 causes of concern in the areas of prevention, protection and equality, diversity and inclusion, alongside a wide range of areas of improvement. Consequently, we were placed into enhanced monitoring. Our team has worked diligently to address these concerns and other areas highlighted by HMRC in a consistent and sustainable manner. And due to the significant efforts we've taken, all causes of concern were resolved and the HMRC removed us from enhanced monitoring earlier this year. This update outlines our continued progress with a particular focus on the remaining areas for improvement. These are reviewed monthly by the HMRC FRS Improvement Board, chaired by the Chief Fire Officer, to ensure we are gathering robust evidence of progress. This evidence will form the basis of our engagement with HMRC ahead of our next inspection. Since this report was submitted, we have now received confirmation that our next inspection will begin, with the document request and staff survey in January 2026, followed by field work commencing the week of the 23rd of February 2026. The next round of inspection will report on the progress we have made since the previous inspection in May 23. As in previous years, our performance will be measured against the HMRC characteristics of good that can be found in the appendices. The 25 to 27 inspection programme will involve a number of changes from the previous round. including whilst the inspection will still focus on effectiveness, efficiency and people, the overall number of diagnostic questions has been reduced to 10. HMIC will enhance the leadership questions in their assessment of how each service looks after its people, and it will focus on leadership at all levels across the organisation. For the first time, HMIC will be looking more closely at our governance arrangements and how that service is impacted by our governance. Therefore, when assessing effectiveness, HMIC will assess how governance impacts the effectiveness of the service. In the assessment of its efficiency, they will assess how each fire service is affected by the Fire Authority's governance, oversight and scrutiny arrangements. And in assessment of how well the fire service looks after our people, they will assess whether the governance and scrutiny arrangements create a positive culture and whether standards of conduct exist to support the health and well-being of the workforce. I appreciate this is a snapshot of our progress so far, and if any members would like further information, I would be happy to provide it. Thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you. Do members have any comment? Councillor Stutchbury.
Firstly, I'd like to thank the officer and the officer team for the work they've done to turn this round. And yes, I think it would be prudent with the change of the authority membership that there is a level of briefing around how we got to where we were, what would undertake and what decisions have to be taken, especially as you said that we're going to be likely to be reviewed again to make sure that we're on a sure footing going forward, built on the hard work which was undertaken by the authority to get where we are. And I think we should record our thanks to the team for the work that they've done.
Councillor Priestley.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much, Anne. Is it Marie? Anne-Marie. It's obvious that quite a lot of work has gone into the preparation for the inspection, but I think what I'll probably do is have some time one-on-one outside. But what I wanted to understand is there a timeline and are there key milestones that as an authority we have to fulfil in preparation for the next inspection, which I gather is in 26 February? Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Hussain.
Added my voice to the fact that the authorities worked very hard to turn everything around. Well done. But on page 35, it does note that there may be additional financial implications. Have they been quantified in any way at this moment in time?
At this time, we have utilised the resources we've got, whether that be through reallocation or prioritisation of work. We haven't had any additional costs at this time.
Further questions? Councillor Carroll.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Chair.
I'd just like to
Excuse
comment
me.
on and put it on record actually that what we worked, Anne-Marie and myself have worked very closely on this scenario. I'm the chair of this organisation in the past. We've come a long way. Can I just thank everybody who's involved? This has been an enormous challenge, but we've come a long way, and thanks very much for their time and efforts.
Thank you. Councillor Priestley wanted to come back on point. My
Still
apologies.
waiting for an answer to my question. I've had two other councillors ask and receive answers to their questions. So I'd like to get an answer to mine. Thank you, Chair.
Whilst there are no set milestones as such, what we are doing is working through the characteristics of good, which are on page 45 onwards in the pack, and we're working through those, making sure that we can answer those, and we've got the evidence associated with them to answer that. We're also sharing that evidence with HMIC as they come in and visit us to make sure that we're meeting the requirements, but there's no set milestones between now and the start of 2026.
Councillor Bailey.
Thank you very much, and just add my voice to, how pleasing it is to see so many of these actions complete. Just the few ones that are on track for June 25, given that we're in June 25, can you briefly comment on if we're still on track for those, please?
Yes, we continue to review them on a monthly basis, both at our HMIC improvement board, but also at new delivery groups we've set up as part of governance. So they have strong scrutiny to make sure they're going to meet those timelines.
Councillor Stutchbury, were you wanting another question?
Yeah, just please, can I receive a briefing on the health and safety implications within the proposals around the service provision, good wellbeing and provision of workforce? Just like to have a private briefing on where you think we are with that and how you think it's progressing so that I understand the work that you're doing, to fully be up to speed on it. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Stutbury. Any further questions for Anne-Marie? Just make one comment myself. There's a wealth of data there that those of us who are new to the authority need to take in. And it is good news that so many of the areas are classed as completed. But I think we all have to recognise, and this applies to the senior leadership team in particular, that completed is not an end in itself, that these situations need to be constantly maintained at that same level. And it's our responsibility as the authority to ensure that that's the case.
If we just take members to the recommendation
Yeah.
that the HMS CFS report be noted.
We note the report. Thank you. We move on then to item 16, performance management, to be presented by Craig Newman.
Thank you and good morning all. For those that are new to the Fire Authority, welcome. For those that aren't, bear with me while I just go through this, because I'm trying to introduce some of the new aspects that some people might not be used to. So my role here today is to present our key performance measure pack, in which you can see key outputs and outcomes against expectations, also known as targets. It's worth noting that the targets set for the measures and monitors within the pack may have a different purpose. For example, some targets are aspirational, some are there to ensure minimum standards, and some identify exceptions and trends. All will allow us to identify possible needs for change. The pack also allows us to provide commentary to support the figures recorded. This is especially prevalent when the RAG status is amber or red. One thing to note, while you as members are presented with this pack every quarter, the service updates and reviews its pack on a monthly basis. Furthermore, the measures in the pack you receive have been specifically identified to give you the best overview as possible on a regular basis. The service monitors many more KPIs within its pack to ensure that the service is performing across the board on a more granular level. A further point to raise is that the pack you have today is based on our community risk management plan from 2020 to 25. This is also known as our CRMP, and you'll hear a lot of that. This is basically our plan which sets out how we will mitigate risk, improve our community safety, and align resources efficiently over a 5-year period, and forms the foundation for our annual delivery plans. Earlier this year, we launched our new CRMP, so the pack you'll receive in the next Fire Authority will reflect the changes in the CRMP, so it won't be the same. One last thing to note about the pack is prior to discussing the data within it, in the opening pages, so in your pack, it's page 64, I think, for 3 pages, we provide 3 highlighted measures. These are usually measures that we would expect to raise more interest than usual. Some of these are based on historic importance, but I'll try to provide as much context as possible when possible. For example, the 3 highlighted measures in this pack are the whole time response model. So BFRS has 12 whole time appliances. This measure shows how, on average, across each month, how many of them were available at the beginning of each shift. As mentioned in the commentary, the significance of this lies in the benefits that we are now seeing as a result of the increased establishment following the Fire Authority agreement. The second measure shows the number of home fire safety visits we carried out. These are visits in which our crews and staff and our prevention team have been in somebody's home to provide advice, and in many cases provide and install devices such as smoke detectors. Again, the significance behind the measures relates to the previous HMIC's visits in which this metric was identified as needing improvement. The third and final measure relates to the percentage of staff who had yearly appraisals completed, and then the percentage of staff who had their objectives set. It goes without saying how important this measure is, and achieving what is an aspirational target is something the service is very proud of. More information on this can be found in the comments section. While I appreciate this is a quick and short insight into our performance measures, should you want a workshop to focus on this pack and the measures within, please do let us know. With all of that out of the way, and thank you for bearing with me, I'll open the floor to any questions about the pack.
Councillor Stutchbury.
Yeah, thank you for the report. Could I bear with you on this and ask that briefing note on the principal responsibilities within the authority have changed, which being the service delivery, finance, personal qualities and health and safety have changed. Would it be possible to provide a briefing note for those people with those responsibilities around where you see the key factors that we need to carry on working with, so that we share information and don't ask questions, we ask better questions for the fact that we've been provided with a briefing note, please?
Thank you. Any further points to be made? Councillor Sherwell.
Thank you, Chairman. As a new member, obviously, I have a lack of knowledge in some areas, but I am used to seeing these sorts of targets and statistics and all the rest of it. And one of the things that I generally think from statistics of this sort is if you are below average, the obvious question is what you're going to do about it. However, looking at one of these categories, I'm not sure how I would answer that if we were below average, and that's deliberate dwelling fires. I understand how we go out and try to prevent accidental fires by increasing security and all the rest of that sort of stuff. What sort of action would we reasonably be able to take if another way, arson, as we would normally call it, I think, is in fact above average? I just want to know what value we get out of that, other than it simply being a statistical record.
Okay, I'll take it first and I'm happy to pass it on to service delivery of things we do. The one thing I would say to keep in mind, and it is in the opening page of the report, is while it might be above average on our target and our trends, our targets and trends are generally set on our performance, not across this the national average. So it might look an amber red for us, actually across the whole sector. It's very green, and that probably would be the case for the deliberate fires. But I'm happy to pass across to whoever wants to take it really on what we actually do. So to explain much better.
Yeah, I'm happy to try and give an answer to that one. So I think as Craig mentioned at the start, there are some measures that I suppose a RAG status is a little bit tricky for us, and they are around monitoring and really understanding trends and changes. Deliberate fires across the different deliberate fire measures, whether that's in someone's home or what we call secondary fires in the open. We do have to understand where we have the opportunity to impact positively in advance. So our partnership working with local authorities, with police partners, etc., and the prevention teams do a lot of kind of proactive work around trying to drive down those kind of antisocial behaviours to some extent. The other reason it's really beneficial for us to track is to understand our kind of post-incident response in terms of what prevention activity do we then ask our teams to go and do, whether it's around specific households or communities, to try and educate and drive down those sort of incident numbers. Hopefully that gives you a reasonable answer.
Hopefully that was helpful, Councillor Sherwell. Councillor Rouse.
Thank you, Chairman. So firstly, can I congratulate officers on the objectives and appraisal completion, because I think what we can see there now is a sustained embedding of that, and I don't think it's an accident that the culture has improved alongside that. So I know it was something that a couple of years ago we focused on, and really good to see the progress. Can I just ask, just triangulate, March looks like an unusually difficult month for both accidental and non-accidental domestic and non-domestic fires, which in of itself might be in a sort of just a coincidence, but it also links then to an extended response time. And I know that you've said in there that there were 3 specific incidents that caused that lengthening, but I guess given we're now in June, can you just give us some comfort that there isn't a trend emerging there linked to challenges still over on call availability?
Yeah, so what the other thing to bear in mind, which we haven't mentioned in this, is quite often fires are related to weather as well. So if the milder, the warmer the weather, you tend to see the fires go up, whether it be accidental or deliberate. I've got the details for April and May. April did still see a spike in those fires, but no trends, whereas May saw a dip in accidental fires. So over the year, there's a 1 difference compared to 1 fire difference between the previous 5-year average. So it's not something we're concerned about at this time.
Thank you for that. Any further?
Thank you. Yes, and I'll note that these charts are a lot less red than they were last year. So that's wonderful. I've kind of got a question around availability of on-call and also the average attendance time. I don't know Drayton, Parslow and Denham, but I do know Hounslow. Presumably that would that have been attended by an on-call client?
So I can certainly speak to the Drayton Parslow incident, but in terms of if you wouldn't mind just giving me your question, I'll see if I can answer it as best I can.
Oh, right. So, I mean, I was wondering whether any of the delay, the increased time of attendance around this was because they were reliant on all on-call stations. And then as a related question, I was wondering whether there's anything we can do to make, because I know there's problems attracting on-call staff, if we can make that package more attractive. And I'm wondering actually whether the 2 councils can look at assisting with that. So maybe that's something we could discuss at a later date, see if councils can offer incentives to on-call staff. But yeah, I'll go back to the attendance time if that's okay.
Yeah, so certainly Drayton Parslow was an example of an incident where purely by, I suppose, geography, travel distances are going to be more challenging and won't meet our response standard. That will occur in certain rural areas, I suppose irrespective to some extent of whether the nearest on-call appliance is available or not. And we did kind of recognise that in the corporate risk management plan, that although we have a service response standard of 10 minutes, there will be areas, more rurally, that we won't be able to achieve that. In the instance of Drayton Parslow, the nearest on-call appliance was actually available on that occasion and mobilised. But the reality is, with the on-call, by the time they turn in, actually, it still took us beyond that 10 minutes. I think in terms of the correlation between on-call response standard, we know it's an area that we need to look at for the service and work with members on. And actually, we're looking to put a workshop in with members specifically about on-call and the future of on-call over the coming weeks. It's something we're committed to in the CRMP, looking at what on-call means for the service for the future. So it's a conversation to have with members in a workshop, certainly. The reality around on-call is it is very, very challenging, and it's not challenging only in Bucks, it's challenging nationally. You look at our measures and obviously figures for I was about to say the past 3 months, but really the last 5 years, and we are not able to achieve on-call availability anywhere near the rate of our 18 appliances. And arguably, the presentation here gives you probably a more positive picture than the reality, because the percentage availability is based on a tiered response. So actually, that it's not always immediately available on-call appliances. That's across a 4-tiered response. So we do really need to have a sensible conversation with members about efficiency and effectiveness of on-call within our operational response model going forward.
Thank you. I look forward to that workshop.
Councillor Stutchbury,
Yeah, back on call. Sorry, Doug. The realities are that the figures are what they are. We don't seem to be able to get recruitment. I think you're correct if you read the national. It's a national issue that on call to do with working relations and people's closeness to. Historically, people were 5 minutes away from a court, and now they're not necessarily that. We have done modelling on our apprenticeship, which is to recruit. Would it be possible at some point to have a linear look at where you see the trends going? Because if they carry on as they are, we'll be putting all the other members of the workforce under increased pressure, because and we will continue to extreme times of pressure reliant on people coming into Buckinghamshire from from other authorities to fill the gap in. I'm not saying we don't go out to do the same for other people, but I do think it's reached a tipping point in the sense that society has moved on somewhat since over the past 10 years, and people's employments are fairly different to what they used to be. Many people aren't in what you call long-term permanent jobs.
Yeah, and just to give councillors the assurance, we are doing that work now. So we committed to it in the CRMP. We have a small project team that are now kind of really starting to get into the detail of on-call in terms of, I suppose, the data viability of the different stations. So we're building station profiles where to the level of information where, look at a particular on-call station, having an understanding of how many kind of recruitable people there are in that vicinity. And in some cases, it's quite a very small number, like not quite a small number, it's a very small number. So we need to build a really good understanding of what does the service need going forward around on-call and resilience to our whole time offering, if you like, and B, what's realistic and achievable, because at the moment, or over the past 5 years, we haven't really taken a targeted, focused approach around, what's going to give us the best bang for our buck. And I think that's the conversation, as I say, we need to have with members and ultimately provide a more streamlined and more efficient response to the public.
I think perhaps Craig wants to come back as well. No, okay. Councillor Stutchbury.
Yeah, thank you for the response, Doug. Looking where we are in the year, do you envisage being able to bring something back forward so it can form part of the ongoing preset considerations if there's a consideration that needs to be taken, so that we can build that into the financial plan? Because the recognition of it is great. The resolving of it's going to be more easy. If it was easy to resolve, it would have been done before, wouldn't it? So I think we need to consider the financial cost of that.
Yeah, I suppose, we'd already had some conversations with exec committee of the previous authority, and obviously we're mindful of, what changes might come about as a result of today's meeting, but we do have an intention to bring, as I say, a workshop forward to keep members after exec committee, which I believe is 10th of July.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gom.
Thank you very much, Chairman. When we discuss on-call, I'd like to be involved in a conversation there, especially when it's in the rural area, because as our colleague said, Councillor Bailey said, Drayton Parslow, there was that incident there. That was on my patch. And I'd like to know you could get there quicker than 10 minutes because it takes 10 minutes in the speed car. So, but we appreciate it. My rural area appreciate the service that you supply in that area and the time factor you do. So, but when you do want to talk about trying to find on-call in that area, I'd be happy to help. Thank you.
Thank Councillor Gom. Any further points? I'd just like to note that some 4 or 5 months ago, I guess it must be now, we had a visit from the Home Fire Safety team, and I have to say, whilst I live in a very small street, we were somewhat surprised to find a fire engine in the street, and our WhatsApp group was going berserk, but it was a delightful experience. We benefited from the call, and it was the talk of our neighbours for some time, and everyone was congratulatory on the way that it was handled. I think it's a really good PR apart from the safety aspect. So I'd encourage more of the same. So it's not just about the difficulties that we have. There are some good things to pick up as well. I'd endorse what Councillor Gomes said as well. I'll come to you, Councillor McLean. In the rural areas, it's particularly important that we're involved. Councillor Gondry, do you want to come back on the same point?
If you wouldn't mind, Chairman, so I appreciate the conversation, the point you just made, because I think that was the incident that I made the fire service aware, was that the fire down on the bridge on the railway track. It was mentioned on Facebook, people forget to ring 999. They'd rather chat about it. But I'd like to say that the fire service I was on the phone with them, and they were there within 3 minutes, and they came from Buckingham. They were just luckily coming that direction, and they surveyed that area for an hour until they found it, and they extinguished that fire. So thank you very much.
Councillor McLean.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'd just like to endorse what you said. I was probably one of the first to have a home safety visit following a discussion with the Deputy Chief Fire Officer. It also had the similar impact on a fairly small village. I've just moved home about 5 weeks ago. I should be inviting the service to come and have a look at our new home.
Very good. Let's see more of that. I think we're done there. So I think
Recommendation, Chairman, on page 59.
we have the recommendation.
That the performance management Q4 24-25 report be noted.
Oh, yes, thank you. Move on to item 17, exclusion of the public and press.
Thank you, Chair. The recommendation is that public and press representatives be excluded from the meeting by virtue of paragraph 1 of part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972, as the minutes contain exempt information relating to any individual, and paragraph 3 and part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972, as the minutes contain information relating to the financial business affairs of a person, including those of the authority. And on these grounds, it is considered the need to keep information exempt outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. That's a proposal, Chairman.
Thank you. So we move on then to the exempt, to just really draft minutes. Do we support the exclusion of the public? Thank you.
Just